Welcome to the MiDOViA Menopause Podcast, your trusted source for evidence-based, science-backed information related to menopause. MiDOViA is dedicated to changing the narrative about menopause by educating, raising awareness, and supporting women in this stage of life, both at home and in the workplace. Visit MiDOViA.com to learn more. I'm one of your hosts, April Haberman, and I'm joined by Kim Hart. We're co-founders of MiDOViA, certified health coaches, registered yoga teachers, and midlife mamas specializing in menopause. You're listening to another episode of our podcast, where we offer expert guidance for the most transformative stage of life, bringing you real conversations, education, and resources to help you overcome challenges and reach your full potential through midlife. Join us and our special guests each episode as we bring vibrant, fun, and truthful conversation, and let us help you have a deeper understanding of menopause. Welcome, everyone, to our inaugural kickoff. We're thrilled to launch our first episode. Kim and I are two of the three co-founders of MiDOViA. We started MiDOViA just about a year ago to bring women together in midlife. And each of us has a different stage that we're in with our menopause journey. And we found that our community of women around us were feeling confused, isolated, lonely. And so we decided to do something about that. And fast forward a year, here we are, Kim. For those of you that don't know who we are, we provide education and support for women in menopause, both in and outside of the workplace. So today, for our first episode, we want to really just pull back the curtain and bring menopause center stage. We're going to unpack the what, Kim, the why, and leave you with a few resources to help you along the way. So with that, let's get started. Kim, there are a lot of myths and misunderstandings as it relates to menopause. We've heard many of them. One of which is that you have to be old to be in menopause. So let's take that and kick that one to the curb, shall we? And start with a basic question that I'm going to throw your way. What in the world is menopause?
Take it away. I know. What in the world is it? And just before I answer that, we've been talking about wanting to do this for a really long time. So this is super exciting. And thanks everybody for trusting us and coming on this journey. Okay. Menopause technically is one day. It's the 12-month anniversary celebration of your last period. You really don't know till that day hits, and every day after that is postmenopause. So all the symptoms that we'll talk about later is that you're experiencing, if you haven't reached that day, is premenopause or perimenopause. Women, it's not the end of your life. It used to be because people died much earlier, but now we're living longer, working longer, enjoying life longer. And so really menopause is just really one moment in time. And there's a lot of things working up to that and a lot of things going after that. So on that note, let's talk about the symptoms. There's a lot of symptoms, April, like you and I experiencing them differently, and we can talk about that too at some point. But what symptoms can women expect?
Well, that's a good question, Kim. There are up to 34 symptoms that can present with menopause. 34 that we know of, and that we really have a true understanding of. Each and every one of us is going to experience menopause different. So we'll experience symptoms different. And there is a small percentage of women that won't experience any symptoms. Lucky ducks, I call them.
Yeah.
1 in 4 women won't experience any menopause symptoms, and they'll breeze right through it. But 3 in 4 will. And of those, a significant portion will experience symptoms in a significant way that impacts them both at work and at home. Symptoms can present physically, they can present psychologically speaking, and most of the symptoms that we're familiar with are some of the physical symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats. When we think about menopause, that's typically what we think about. But there are a host of other physical symptoms that can present too, like your achy joints, like I'm feeling right now and trying to figure out why. Changes in hair and skin and nails. We can also have other physical symptoms present, like our vaginal dryness, for example, vaginal atrophy. We don't talk about that often. And then there are other symptoms that can present, like the heavy flooding bleeding, which can cause extreme difficulty for a lot of women. And the list goes on, right, Kim? And
Yeah.
then we also have some of the psychological symptoms that we're just now beginning to understand a little bit more, like the brain fog, difficulty concentrating, loss of concentration, anxiety, irritability. Some people call it the meno rage. Why am I feeling this way? And those are all normal symptoms that can present, but certainly can make it difficult for women in this stage of life. And then, Kim, I'll throw this back to you as we're talking about symptoms. I know there's a graph that we show in our trainings that shows the cycle of symptoms and how they affect one another. So do you want to touch on that for our audience for just a
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah, definitely. I love thinking about that because that helps me understand it. Like, say you have night sweats, and so then you can't sleep, and then you have insomnia, and you wake up and you are anxious, and then you have to go to work or take care of your family, and you have enormous fatigue, and then maybe you have brain fog and you can't concentrate because you didn't sleep the night before, and then you have hot flashes in the middle of the day, and the cycle, picture a circle of how that cycle goes on and on. I think that people think that night sweats are, no big deal. You wake up, you change your sheets, but it leads to a lot of other symptoms. And I know myself personally, the brain fog was debilitating for me. I couldn't speak to people without worrying about what my next word would be. And boy, that affected my self-confidence, and my anxiety rose. So I think it's a unique combination of symptoms for everybody. And it's not a one size fits all solution for everyone. And so it's just one of those things to probably write it down and document it so you can kind of keep track. Because no, you're not going crazy. These are actual symptoms. When you have achy joints, that's likely related to menopause. So pay attention to that, and look for ways, and we can talk about this, look for ways to help with some of those symptoms so that you don't have to struggle with it.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think you bring up a good point, Kim, that everyone looks different, right? We talked about that in the very beginning. The symptoms look different, but certainly um, the way in which you manage through those symptoms is going to look different as well. And there are many, many choices. I know we're going to get into some of those in detail in further podcasts, but you bring up an excellent point there. And so as we're talking about seeking help, one of the things that we hear often with women is, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. So I'm in perimenopause, or I'm reached menopause. I have these symptoms. They're impacting my life, and I don't know where to go, and I don't know where to get help. So let's help our audience out here. What are two or three things that they can do to go get help?
Well, first off, I would say, like, don't suffer. You do not need to suffer through this. It is not an easy problem to solve, but you definitely can solve it. And I would say the first step is to take your list of symptoms to your doctor and talk to your doctor about that. Now, here's the thing: very few doctors are trained in menopause in med school. And few people have heard me tell the story where my doctor handed me a book and said, here's what we need to do. And that wasn't good enough for me. First off, I had that book and it was great. But secondly, I needed some medical support.
Yeah.
So look for a doctor that hears you, sees you, can understand what you're going through. The Menopause Society has a list of local and, you know, across the country doctors who have had additional training and are menopause certified. So they care about this and want to know more about it. So that's the first thing that I would do. The second thing that I would do is understand your symptoms, do a little research. If sleep is a problem, as it is for me, what are some things, add some magnesium or add some melatonin, depending on what your issue is. Really look for some ways to help with your symptoms. And then, really, at the end of the day, everyone just needs a community. They need a community of people that can love and support them through this. And we will have community available through MiDOViA, but lean on your friends and help them understand what you're going through, and they will do the same. I think that it's not something that we've talked about, and our moms didn't pay attention to it as if it wasn't a thing, and they just suffered in silence. So am I missing anything? Would you add anything to that list, April, as kind of the first few things that you'd want to do?
No, I think those are the most important. You touched on community, and I want to highlight that and bring that right up to the top of the list, because we do hear time and time again that people feel lonely, they feel isolated, really at a loss for that tribe and that community. And I want to come back to the very beginning in the very first question that I asked you about menopause and what the heck is menopause. And I want to point out too that the average age to reach menopause is 51, but that's for a white woman. And we know that there are many other ethnic groups that experience menopause or reach menopause at an earlier age. And there are other reasons that women reach menopause earlier. There are different surgeries, there are medicines and treatments that they might be going through that push someone into menopause. And there's a small percentage of women that will move through the menopause at an earlier age, and they feel really, really lonely because they don't have a tribe of other women that are going through it at the same time. So it can be really confusing and really important to find that community. And I would say one thing to our audience is that if you think you're experiencing menopause symptoms, you probably are. Share it with your friends. Talk to your doctor. It's not abnormal to be going through menopause at an earlier age. So I think you hit the nail on the head, Kim.
Yeah. And I think when you're not, I don't have hot flashes. So, knock on wood, I don't have hot flashes. So I didn't put it all together that there's something more than hot flashes that could be happening to me, because that's what I thought would happen. And, and I had a bunch of the other symptoms that come along. And so really understanding what those 34 symptoms are, or more than 34 probably, but those are the key numbers of them. It's really great to just know you're not going crazy, right? That there's a reason for why you're not feeling well. And, from a hormonal perspective, what's happening is that you no longer are ovulating because you don't have enough hormones in your system. And so when you see what happens on a chart, your hormones are crashing and your body's like, wait, hold on a second. I'm supposed to make up for this. I want to make sure you feel well. And it ends up not helping. So there's really nothing you can do to predict what your symptoms are going to be or how long you're going to have them, but what you can do is take care of yourself, look for ways to help solve some of your symptoms, and follow where your heart and gut tells you to go. Some doctors may say just take hormone replacement therapy, and you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You have to do what's right for you. And we'll do future podcasts on sleep, on weight, on diet and exercise, all related to this, to sort of help with other ways to help you get through menopause. And we hope you stay tuned for those. But I think there's so much to talk about, and we need to talk about it because people are saying that there's nothing going on or afraid to talk about it. It's kind of an ick kind of thing to talk about, and we're out to change that narrative. We want people to be comfortable talking about this, and this is just what your body does. So let's go take it on with a vengeance.
Yeah, let's talk menopause. Let's just
Yeah.
bring it out in the open, right? So,
Yeah.
audience, we're going to be talking about everything you ever wanted to know about menopause. Yes, we're going to talk about libido. Yes, we're going to talk about sex. Yes, we're going to say the word vagina. And we encourage you to ask questions and send them our way if you're interested in certain topics. I'm going to leave our audience with some good news here. We don't know what symptoms we're going to experience. We don't know how long we're going to experience them. But the good news is that our body does get used to that new level of hormone. Whether you're on hormone replacement therapy or not, you will survive and you can actually thrive in this time in your life, right?
Yep.
So, Kim, we like to end every episode with a rapid fire. So, I'm going to actually ask you, I'm going to take you through rapid fire really quick, and then you can take me through. How about
All
that?
right. Well, you already know what the
Okay.
questions are then.
Okay, I'm gonna shoot.
Okay.
Ready? Favorite pizza topping?
Mushrooms.
Coffee or wine?
This is really, it's tied, but honestly, an amazing cup of coffee in the morning is worth getting out of bed.
Okay, favorite season?
I like the flowers in the spring. I saw daffodils yesterday on my walk and I was just totally surprised by that.
Okay. And then last question, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
My grandfather, who raised 8 children, who I respected and love and still think about every day, said, if something doesn't meet your expectations, you need to change your expectations.
I love
And he did that with, when he thought his kids were going to be perfect and they messed up. He was the embodiment of that. So
I love that advice.
yeah. All right, my friend. Pizza toppings.
Mushrooms.
Oh, come
I
on.
know. I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't want to answer and not be truthful.
No,
Okay,
yeah, I
go
got
ahead.
it. All right. Well, then we need to go have pizza. Coffee or wine?
I have to say coffee. I have to.
You
Yeah,
have
I
to
love my
'cause-
wine, but coffee.
Okay. What's your favorite season?
Summer. I'm a Southern gal, grew up in South Carolina, so I have to say summer. I love the sunshine.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the best advice you've ever received?
That one's a hard one for me, but I have to say, I had an old boss tell me years and years ago, remember, perception is reality. And that has really helped me along the way to remember that, my perception is different than other people, and to remember that as I walk into each and every situation. So,
Well, thank
that's
you.
what I would
And
say.
when I first asked you that question, you text me like 3 other answers.
I
So
know.
you got some wisdom that you'll be able to share with us in there for future podcasts.
Absolutely. We'll write a book.
Yeah, someday.
All right. Well, that's a wrap, friends. We are going to leave you by saying go find joy in the journey until we meet again.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the MiDOViA Menopause Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for future episodes, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. There are more than 50 million women in the U.S. who are navigating the menopause transition. The situation is compounded by the presence of stigma, shame, and secrecy surrounding menopause, posing significant challenges and disruptions in women's personal and professional spheres. MiDOViA is out to change the narrative. Learn more at MiDOViA.com. That's MiDOVIA.com.